Right now, let's get to the crowded race to replace retiring Congressman Steny Hoyer. As you know, he's represented that 5th Congressional District for more than 4 decades. 27 people are in the running to replace him.
Can you name all 27
gosh.
people? What? That's a test, right? Randy, we're not going to put you to the test, but we know that you're at the IBEW Local 26 headquarters in Lanham with Adrian Boafo's campaign. He's obviously a former aide to Steny Hoyer, and Steny Hoyer endorsed him.
Yeah, good evening to you both. There is a lot of excitement and a lot of energy here between the time that I spoke with you earlier in the 8 o'clock hour to now. More people have arrived as I looked around the room. It's interesting. There is a wide range in terms of demographic here. We have older supporters, but then I look to my left and there is at least 2 tables of young supporters who say they are volunteers for this campaign. And so that gives you just a quick temperature check of the appeal that he has to some voters. I had a chance to talk with his campaign team, also had a chance to speak with him briefly when he was here as they were getting the last minute details sorted out and set up. There was a calm but a sense of excitement. As I mentioned earlier, he said however things pan out tonight, he will sleep soundly. His campaign team said he started the day early, went to a couple locations to do that last minute campaigning, and then also talked about reflecting on this moment, what it has meant to him to be at this point, considering that he is the son of immigrants. As I looked around, it looks like family is starting to arrive. His parents came to the U.S. from Ghana, and I could see people dressed wearing the flag of their home country. And as you mentioned, this is a very crowded field, and he has had to do a lot to separate himself from other candidates. And as you mentioned, he has had a lot of momentum, having the endorsement of Representative Hoyer, also getting the endorsement of Governor Wes Moore. And he says that that has meant a lot to him. He says in total, he's had 35 plus elected officials endorse his campaign. He says he's also gotten endorsements from local unions. And he says that one gives him momentum, but says that really shapes the outlook of his campaign. He says it starts early, potentially getting elected to this position. He has to build his network and community. In the last stretch of his campaign, I met him at one of the early voting sites, and he talked about his main focus, one being accountability. If he is elected, he plans to hold President Donald Trump accountable, but also said, and as you have mentioned in talking with the panelists about how much affordability is important to people, and he says that is also a #1 priority for him.
Look, if you can't afford groceries, you can't afford rent. The president puts us in an unconstitutional war in Iran, and you can't afford gas prices. If you can't afford child care, if you can't afford a way of life, nothing else really matters to people. And in Maryland, people are feeling it harder and harder, especially because of what this president has done in our state. So affordability by far is the #1 thing. And then the second thing, honestly, is the accountability in Washington. Only people who are succeeding right now in America are cabinet officials and the president's family. And that's not fair to the American people.
And as I mentioned, and as you all have mentioned, he has the endorsement of Representative Hoyer. Representative Hoyer posted on social media earlier today, one, urging people to get out and vote, but also talked about a little bit more about why he endorsed Boafo, saying that Marylanders can count on him because of his track record. Now, the party, again, has already started, but we are expecting Representative Hoyer to be here and to speak. I'm also told, obviously, that Boafo is expected to address his supporters. We're looking at a 9 to 9:15 time frame, but we'll keep you updated. I'll send it back to you.
You know, to a beating from his opponents during the last few weeks of this campaign as well.
There's been a lot of conversation about money, where that money is coming from, how much of it has been directed to him and where it's been coming from. We're going to dig into that part of the conversation up next.
Yeah.
All right, Randy, thank you.
All right, speaking of money here, the expensive race for the 6th Congressional District seat, David Trone, as you know, he's running again. He owns Total Wine & More. He held this office before and gave it up to run for Senate back in 2024.
John Duran is joining us live from Trone's campaign event at the Steinhardt Brewing Company in Frederick, Maryland. It was loud earlier. It's louder now.
Yeah, Leslie, you know, Randy and I, we're wearing the headphones now. That means people are showing up. The party's getting started. They're a little camera shy, though, because it looks pretty empty behind me. Let's just show you the other side of this room. Supporters are here in bunches. We have not seen David Trone yet. We are expecting to hear from him at some point tonight. April McClain Delaney, David Trone running for the 6th Congressional District, a district. Trone was a congressman for 3 straight terms before, as we said, leaving that seat for a Senate run in 2024. This is such a large geographic district, also politically diverse district, spanning parts of deep blue Montgomery County, Democrat leading Frederick County, but also the rural, more conservative western panhandle of the state. Here are the early results right now. Like I said, about an 800 vote lead for April McClain Delaney right now. We caught up with David Trone at a polling location this afternoon and asked him, what's at stake tonight? He says, taking the fight to Donald Trump in Washington, D.C., fighting MAGA and President Trump policies. And we asked him, does he have a better shot at doing that than his opponent? Here's his answer.
Not as well as I would. I've never lost a general because I cut across party lines, and folks respect the fact that you're a businessman, that you're self-made, and created a company across the United States. And so we always get some independents like crazy. And that's one thing this system needs in Maryland is a primary system that's actually open so independents can actually vote, because they're totally disenfranchised, right now in Maryland. And that's wrong.
Yeah, and Leslie Lorenzo, off the top, you mentioned the money, because this has become one of the most expensive self-funded primaries in the country. Around $32 million spent out of April McClain Delaney and Trone's pockets combined. David Trone, as you mentioned, the co-owner of Total Wine and More, spending just about $25 million of his own money. A big story, a big storyline in this primary election for the 6th Congressional District. Leslie Lorenzo.
Well, those are big numbers.
Yeah. And we know his television ads started running early, right?
They started running early, and they just haven't stopped. It's been going and going and going. All right, well, lots of money, lots of conversation, and you mentioned, John, April McClain Delaney, so we're going to head on over to those headquarters because she obviously is running to keep her seat.
That's right. Her campaign event is at the Holiday Inn in Gaithersburg. And Katie, we know, based on the music there, they are still partying. They're pretty excited.
Yeah, and every time those numbers change up on the big board, there is a round of applause we hear cheering from the crowd. So people are really excited. I do want to talk a little bit about what John was talking about with that money here, because as you know, this was an expensive primary race, possibly one of the most expensive that we've seen in quite a while, with David Trone obviously spending millions, as well as April McClain Delaney. She did spend significantly less though. And I asked her about that specifically, talking about how much money David Trone really spent here. And he said that he spent that much to not have to take special money from anyone else. But April McClain Delaney, she was talking about how when you get that money donated to you, it's showing you that people support you. They want to invest in you. And she said that that is what her not using as much of her own money has shown through this process. But let's talk a little bit about April McClain Delaney. She is defending her seat in what many have called the most expensive, possibly most contentious race. We have seen a lot of negativity, specifically between her and David Trone with those attack ads. A lot of the money they both spent went towards that. But a little about her, she's a Potomac resident, which Potomac is not in District 6, but you know what? Neither is David Trone. He does not live in District 6 either, and it is not a requirement for this position. She's a mother of 4. She has talked about that a lot. She's an attorney. She also at one point worked for the Department of Commerce, and she says her campaign is focused on what she calls common sense politics. She's showing up, she's listening to the voters, and really honing in on what she says they want. Things like protecting federal workers, reproductive rights, women's rights, things like that. Now, I do want to talk about Wes Moore, Governor Wes Moore, because as you heard and saw, he was here. He stopped by. He's been showing his support for her at several of her campaign events. You see him there on the screen, meeting with people in the room. Now, she is not in the room, but you can see him there, just met by so many people. We're excited, and this was just moments before he won that Democratic primary seat. So this was even before he knew that he had the seat for the Democrats, and so many people in this room were excited to see him there. That right there on your screen, that's one of the women who work here in the hotel. So everyone was really excited to see him here. And when we've asked him about why he is supporting April McClain Delaney, he says because she is a fighter. And when I asked her what it felt like to have his endorsement, well, here's what she said. I asked her specifically how important it was to have that endorsement. Take a listen. You have the governor here today. How important was that for you to get that endorsement?
Incredibly important. I think Governor Moore and Don have been there every step of the way, have been really helpful. But also, you know, I have all the federal delegation, all the congressional House members and our 2 senators. But, you know, this Team Maryland, it's not just, we don't just talk about it, it's really a thing. We all row together, and we really row with our state and local partners, our county executives, our state delegates, our state senators. And this has been a time when we've really had to meet the moment, and I think when all of us are coming together, whether it's on hunger, whether it's on SNAP or Medicaid, but against all these rifts, it has been very helpful to have our governor's leadership who says we leave no one behind, because that really has truly been the ethos of all of Team Maryland.
And you can see there right behind her was County Executive Mark Elridge, whose seat is also up right now. But, you know, I want to talk about her priorities real quickly. She told me she has 3 big priorities. She is fighting for what she called an assault by the Trump administration. She said whether it's a fight for rights of immigrants, women, or the LGBT community. She said she's also planning to fight for SNAP and Medicaid and Medicare. So she called this a general fight against the assault on all rights. She also talked about affordability being a priority for her, about rising energy costs, housing, those sorts of things. And she also said her fight will be to gain trust in democracy, make sure there's not intimidation at the polls, and that there is trust in the leaders. So again, she has a lot of these big name endorsements, and I think we'll be finding out shortly how important those endorsements really were. Leslie and Lorenzo.
All right, the night is young. The party is high. The music is loud.
Yeah, it is. All right, Katie, thank you. All right.